another part of the world to Devan. Good morning, Devan, and thank you so much for your time.
A very good morning to you and to the listeners, and you're welcome. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Devan Moonsamy, it was such a delight to read the email just about the amazing work in terms of helping employees improve their performance. 3 ways to effectively implement a performance improvement plan. Talk to us about the ground of that, because it's a difficult one. The moment you talk about performance, if anybody talks about my performance, or if I think that I have to speak to somebody else about their performance in the workspace, it can easily be extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What are some of the things we need to bear in mind, Devan?
Yeah, it's not an easy discussion, and we need to bear in mind that these performance discussions actually speak to organization revenue, sustainability of a business, and an understanding that client satisfaction or customer satisfaction is linked to performance within the organization. So I think it's just very important for us to understand the importance of performance management before we even get into anything else. So the better we manage performance with the people within our organization, then the happier, the more sustainable we are, the happier the clients we have, and generally there's a higher morale in business. So what we need to remember is that we need to look at the bigger picture here. As uncomfortable as it is to talk about, it's very necessary for us to now start doing it and implementing within our businesses.
That is brilliant. Now, Devan, I'd like you to speak to us from the perspective of employees, where you as an employee, you might feel like, oh, well, management hardly ever engages us. How do we as employees maybe go to our manager or to our boss and say, can we have a conversation about my performance? What advice would you give us?
Most often, it's a negative reaction from an
Yeah.
employee. It can even be a negative reaction from HR and maybe even the line manager. When we talk about performance management, it means, in most cases, the word is, it could even be synonymous with conflict. You know, people, when we talk about conflict or performance management, we think negative. It doesn't always have to be that way. Remember, when we have realistic discussions around my gaps and my development areas, this is an opportunity for me to grow. So when we approach it in a very mature way in a business, a line manager or an employee, and we can walk in through the door and have a very, very honest conversation about what in my key performance areas I'm not meeting the targets, or the manager vice versa having that discussion. If there's synergy in that conversation, if we both are talking in a collaborative way, performance management does not necessarily have to result in conflict or dismissal of that person. Because a lot of people will think, okay, my foot's out the door, I'm on my way, I'm leaving now because they're managing my performance. Things can be turned around if we subscribe to the right mindset when we approach performance management. And that's from the employer and the employee's perspective.
Brilliant. I love it. If you've just tuned in or you're wondering who we're chatting to Devan Moonsamy. He is the CEO of ICHAF Training Institute, a South African corporate training provider and national learning institute. And what I love is that Devan specializes in conflict and diversity management, as well as regularly conducts seminars on these issues for corporates. So, Devan, then let's talk from the manager's point of view, because it is difficult. You might have set up a meeting, and in setting up the meeting, you've got those 300 questions going through your mind. If I send this person a meeting request and I say what it's about, they might be awkward. It will be uncomfortable. What advice do you have for managers and bosses?
Yeah, the manager only looks as good as how his direct line reports are performing. So remember, the manager also has a reporting line above them. So they giving feedback at exco meetings, they've got reports they need to compile. And if there's a member on the team that's not necessarily meeting the objectives or are deviating from the policies within that business unit, that this puts the manager in a very difficult predicament. So the manager is a human at the end of the day too. I mean, the manager has anxieties, the manager has deliverables, their own KPAs. So the manager is probably intimidated to have that discussion too, especially if you have a manager who doesn't like to performance manage, or doesn't like to be, or maybe is conflict adverse. So the manager might feel a little bit anxiety, might go through a little bit of withdrawal during the process. But I would like to advise the manager to stick within the framework and the guideline of the policy. Remember, the company should have policies and procedures. They should have a company constitution, a code of conduct. Arm yourself with that. Sit with the employees' key performance areas and their skill sets, and align the two. So once you have all of your facts in order, then you're going to feel a little bit more confident. It's nothing personal. So you're not sitting there with the employee because you just don't like them. You're sitting there because you want to rectify some gaps and challenges within their service, within the delivery. And when you keep that in mind, you'll find that you'll have a much more collaborative discussion. It doesn't have to become ugly. It doesn't have to become nasty. Just be
Mm.
dignified and discipline with dignity, or rather say it in a dignified way, and remind the employee that this is a collaborative development process.
Hmm. That's interesting. And then, Devin, when it comes to follow ups, so if you've maybe given the employee like a certain time to improve themselves, do you
Mm.
wait for the 3 months to pass by, or how should you carry that?
Now, remember, like anything, we've got to regularly assess and monitor. So you can't just give somebody an area. Let's say it's to improve MS skills or to improve communication skills, as an example. You have to assess it regularly. So it's not enough just saying it once and then expecting them to get with the program by month 2 or month 3. You've got to be able to sit down with them frequently, talk about it, even if it's 10, 15-minute touch base sessions, or it can be a longer, say, 1 hour meeting. And then you'll communicate with the employee, you'll engage with them, and put measurement tools in place. So where you're sitting now, what percentage are we looking at? Do you need a mentor? Are there other people in the business unit that you would like to shadow to improve your skill in that area? The more we communicate and touch base, the more comfortable both parties will feel.
Hmm.
Mm, great advice. Devin, that's where we're going to have to leave it. But I do know that there is a lot of more information that people might want to find out or just go and read up a little bit more. Where can they go? Have you got a website address that you could give us?
Yes. Yeah, I write a lot on performance management and employee engagement, and they can access many of these articles if they'd like on devanmunsamy.com, or they could go onto our college website, which is www.icheftraining.co.za. And they're welcome to download it and share it amongst their team members.
Oh, fantastic. Again, that I, Chaff, or
iChef.
I, Chaff.
I
There we
Can
go.
Help Africa Training Institute. Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Devin,
Thank
what
you.
an honor to chat to you. Thank you so much for giving us some great handles, some good advice. And I think we're definitely going to have to touch base with you again to get into some more of those nitty gritty things that need to be, because at the end of the day, if the workplace is a good place to be, both for
Mm.
managers, bosses, and employees, then everybody walks away happy. So why not?
100%. Yeah, absolutely right. And thank you so much for speaking to me. And thank you to the listeners.
Thank you, Devin. Have a great day and all the best.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.